Hi, I'm Jim Brady, and I will describe a study IBM did of the brain's data structures. Conventional studies of the brain use functional MRIs, while the subjects are performing tasks. But we could not use MRI because, as you can see, it's blurry and slow, and at $3 million a pop, my boss would not let me buy one anyway. Instead, we use black box analysis to deduce the brain's data structures. Black box analysis involves applying signals to the box and seeing what comes out, then deducing the entered functions. We used about 3 million transactions done at terminals to probe the minds of 400 people. No humans were harmed. The user's transaction cycle is composed of the human part, think time, and the computer part, response time. An example would be me buying a Ferrari on Amazon and my credit card being rejected. The transaction would go like this. During the first think time, asking myself, do I really want to spend $438 on this? And then clicking place order, which ends think time. During response time, the computer checks my credit card and rejects it, sending an insufficient funds message which is displayed on my screen, ending the transaction. And after recovering from the shock, thinking, was that a real Ferrari I ordered? During the transaction cycle, think time has little effect on the computer's performance, but response time has substantial effect on the humans. We use transactions like this to probe the black box of the mind and analyze the response time and think time pairs we measured. Now on to the memory hierarchy. Accepted theories suggest a three-level hierarchy of the brain. The hierarchy levels are described without internal structure in current theory. The development of a model requires postulating structures for the first two levels. Level 1 is working memory and holds 4 to 15 concepts. A concept is a unit of information, say a number like 3.7, or an association like yellow is a color, or a belief like Harry is not ethical, and so on. The diagram's blue circles represent concepts. The circles are memory cells. The red circles represent the brain's logic, and the green arrow represent data movement. Working memory makes associations between concepts in working memory. This is done at a high rate, generating 10 or more new concepts per second. It's not known how the concepts are generated. We just have information on how fast. Level 2 is task memory. It stores the current thought process's least important concepts. By observing the relationship between response time and the think time of the next transaction, we were able to postulate models that fit the measurements. Level 3, long-term memory, did not appear to have a role for the short transactions we observed. So let's start by looking at working memory. It appears that working memory and its association mechanism can make a large number of associations at a time, one for each pair of concepts. That would give us 21 simultaneous associations for a 7-concept memory. Some produce new concepts, others are not productive, and the brain seems to know how to ignore them. Useful new concepts must be stored, but where do they go? If working memory is full, the normal case, a decision on where to store the new concepts is made. If the new concept is important, it must displace another concept from the working memory, in which case the least important concept in working memory is given the boot out to task memory. The concept heads for task memory, which has to find a place for the concept where it can be retrieved quickly. A tree, like the one on the right, appears to be a suitable data structure. Our task memory tree averaged 1.2 cells wide, tall and skinny, kind of like me as a kid. The narrow width of the tree suggests that simpler structures might be used. One that worked is called a last in, first out queue, LIFO, for short. By adopting a LIFO cue, things snapped into place, giving us a system that reacts like this. Phase 1 consists of the first parts of think time, where working memory is full of mostly useless concepts from the previous response time interval. They are shown as black circles. As the mind works, working storage is rebuilt by getting concepts from the LIFO cue or generating new concepts. In phase 2, the useful ones in blue are starting to arrive, and by the end of phase 3, they dominate working memory, and the mind is at peak efficiency. At the start of phase 4, at the beginning of response time, the user thoughts begin to stray from the task, and black concepts begin to take over working memory and eventually task memory. If response time is too long and goes into phase 5, working memory is taken over by black concepts. Note, as time passes, even the most important concepts can become less important. Say when a different approach to the problem has diverted the stream of thought. The longer the response time, the blacker both memories become. At the end of phase 5, the rebuilding of working memory begins again by accessing the newest concepts in the LIFO cue, which are mostly black. These are concentrated on the right end, and because they were the last ones in, they're the first ones retrieved. Most of the delay in the thought process seems to be in accessing and discarding black concepts. It is clear that LIFO is not optimal, but it's what the brain does. Perhaps when Homo sapien melicultus comes along, a hash table will be used solving that problem. Looking at the effect of short response time, we find that productivity increases disproportionately as the response time becomes smaller. The graph shows the effects on 3 skill levels doing the same kind of a job, circuit board wiring. Other measurements were made covering a variety of tasks, all showed similar results. The graph demonstrates that removing the response time from 1.5 seconds to a half a second produced about a 400% increase in productivity. Other tasks saw improvements of 50% or more. The cost to achieve the improved response time was considerably less than the gains. As a result of this study, we were able to estimate how valuable various computer configurations were to our customers, culminating in changes to most aspects of IBM's mainframe product menu. Improvements were made to memory size, paging devices, disk control units, and SCADs of software. Also, new technologies like fiber optics were added to the plan, and as a bonus, a number of interdivisional disputes were resolved concerning how fast does a computer need to be. The answer was pretty darn fast. Thank you for your time.